Welcome to No Tourists Allowed, a podcast where two recognized travel industry executives with a combined 71 years on the inside of travel and technology give up their secrets to the thing everyone wants to do. Travel better, spend less, and see more of the world. Here are your hosts, Mike Putman and James Ferrara.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Putman.
And I'm James Ferrara. Welcome to No Tourists Allowed.
Yes, welcome to another edition in our third series of No Tourists Allowed. And we have a fantastic guest on today. We have the Vice President of Entertainment for Virgin Voyages, Mr. Richard Kilman. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome, Richard. You know, last season at No Tourists Allowed, Virgin Voyages provided us with a cruise giveaway, a luxury cruise vacation for two on Virgin Voyages. And that was a big deal last season. So another thank you for that. Really appreciate your support of our audience here. But this is talking to you is something new and different for us. Oftentimes we get big brand ambassadors and sales executives and sometimes president or CEO of a cruise line, but you have a really interesting focus, of course, something that everybody loves, sexy idea, entertainment. Sexy Richard is here with us to talk about the entertainment side of a cruise vacation. But before we do that, I know Mike is itching to get in what we call his rapid fire questions to help us get to know you a little bit. We're going to ask you a little about your personal travel preferences.
And Richard, first of all, where are you located right now?
I'm in the main office in Plantation, Florida.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, Richard, what is your favorite hotel brand or individual property? And why would you say?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I think one of the ones I stay at the most is the Citizen M. Oftentimes when I'm in New York, I just like it. It's a cool vibe. It's, you can easily meet with people there and the rooms are good enough and comfortable. So I like it.
You can have a nice drink in the lobby, the very sort of clubby lobby. There's a couple of good ones in London also.
Yeah, I went to one of the ones in London in Shoreditch.
Yeah, Shoreditch is great.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a
very,
cool vibe.
Very trendy, Richard.
I try. It could be that the group that designed that concrete might have designed some of the spots on our ship as well, so I might have an affinity.
Connection.
So, Richard, yeah. What's your favorite destination? And in that destination, do you have a favorite restaurant or two that you might want to recommend?
Oh my goodness, that is a good question. I've traveled a lot. Picking a favorite restaurant, oof, that was a tough one.
Well, start with the destination. What's your favorite destination?
It's a surprising one. My favorite I've been to so far was on my honeymoon, where my wife insisted that we go to South Africa on safari. And so we went to Johannesburg, did a couple of weeks of safari, and then stayed in Cape Town. And I can't remember the name of the restaurants there, but everything was incredible. Highly recommend. But traveling...
Cape Town itself is very beautiful, isn't it? I mean...
Incredible. That city, and this is a while ago that we were there, but after 2 weeks of safari going to Cape Town, we actually stayed at the 12 Apostles Hotel, which is just gorgeous. And we just lived the dream. It was beautiful. We met some people on safari that owned like this winery in Cape Town, and they invited us as their guests to the Beck Estates, and we were very spoiled by some very kind people. So I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but the 12 Apostles.
Meeting people in destination, and especially local people, is one of the tenets of our No Tourists Allowed philosophy about travel. It's something we recommend that you try to do that and look at how it enhanced your trip. So pretty happy to hear about that.
Yeah. So, Richard, I'm sure you've been on many, many cruises. What has been your favorite shore excursion?
I think my favorite one was right here in our backyard in Bimini when we got to swim with the stingrays, but it was like, I mean, it's not like captured. It was like out in live, if you will, out in the public area. You beached your boat, you came out of the boat and just walked in the water, and they give us some kind of food to put in the water that all just came right up to you. And very overwhelming, but so cool. Really, really cool.
Very cool. Like that.
Yeah. I've done the paragliding trips as well. On one of them with the family, we all went out and did a paragliding trip, which was really fun. We like adventure. And a lot of times we'll find our own adventure. I don't know if that's helping you, but we love exploring. We really love exploring and finding, those nooks and crannies and places that you go to.
I'm with you on that. I'm not sure I'm with you on the paragliding. And I think it's because I don't want anyone looking at me from that angle. But
yeah, no, I think once was good. I also, once in New Zealand, I actually did, oh my goodness, we jumped out of the plane on a tandem dive.
Oh,
and that was another one that once was enough. Glad I did it. Glad I could say I did it. It was wild, but I don't have a burning desire to do that again.
Yeah.
Hopefully your insurance company is not listening to this podcast, because they would
I hope so.
not give you a good rate.
I was much younger. I didn't have insurance back then.
So, Richard, are you an aisle or window guy when you fly?
I am definitely a window guy.
No, window
I
guy.
like the ability to make it dark and not have someone have the light shining out of them trying to chill out or work or whatever. Yes, I'm a window guy.
Very cool. And do you carry on or do you check your luggage?
Whenever possible, carry on. I'm not a fan of checking. Too many opportunities for things to go wrong, but obviously on a long trip, you check, of course.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, those are just some questions we like to ask all of our guests, just so our listeners can get a better understanding of what you are like as a traveler. And it's a really nice opportunity for us at No Tourists Allowed to have you on, because normally, as James said, we're talking to people in the travel industry that are more on the ambassador side, sales side. But it's really great to speak to someone on the operational side, and I know this will be very interesting to all of our listeners. So let's start out, Richard. How did you get started in the entertainment business?
Well, it is not the traditional path, I can tell you that. So I went to school at UConn in Storrs, Connecticut. And after 2 years of school, I had this great plan to leave school and move out to LA with a couple of buddies of mine to become a rock star. And so that was the path that got me into the entertainment industry. After living out there for about a month, I quickly realized this was a terrible idea. This is never going to happen. But it was really good times. It was, in the 90s, so the hair band time, late 80s, early 90s. It was really fun being out there, and kind of stumbled into the entertainment industry by accident. One of my 3 jobs, I worked to pay the bills, and next thing I knew, I was starting to help with comedians and booking them into comedy clubs and booking these crazy variety acts into NBA halftime shows, and that led to the next opportunity, the next one, where eventually we were producing shows that were touring for theaters, casinos, and a lot of special events, meeting convention industry, a lot of corporate events and stuff like that. And yeah, kind of serendipitously fell into the cruise industry when it started with one of my wife's best friends who used to run public relations for Royal Caribbean, invited me to meet one of the guys, the head of entertainment there. We hit it off. At the time, they were developing what was known as Project Genesis, which was the Oasis class ships. And so I started meeting with some of their team. multiple meetings, and they invited me to go to Cruise 360 in the Broward Convention Center, where all the travel agents go, because they were showcasing some of their entertainment that they were going to be putting on their ships in the following year. So I go to this event, and at that event, a former technical director of mine from when I was touring shows was there saying, "What are you doing here?" And so it turns out he was working for a Norwegian cruise line. And I told him, I was talking to Royal about all this stuff. And he said, "You should come talk to our people at Norwegian. We're building this new crazy state-of-the-art ship," which turned out to be Norwegian Epic. And yeah, 3 weeks later, I started working at Norwegian Cruise Line. So it was just a weird series of events that got me into entertainment and then got me into the cruise industry.
So as vice president of entertainment, what does your role entail?
So as one of the early arrivers here at Virgin Voyages, I think I was employee number 8 or 9 in the early days. It started with when we were concepting these ships. So meeting with a very small group of us in the shipyard, kind of sketching out what venues would go where, and what should this look like, and how many people should this venue hold, and all these conversations about trying to figure out what the right model was and what the right experiences were going to be for Virgin. But prior to me joining, Virgin had done a tremendous amount of research to understand and identify what the opportunity was in this industry for Virgin, right? So that information helped guide us in the direction that we were going in. So when the ships were being designed, starting with that, the people interested in Virgin going into the cruise industry expressed they didn't want to feel like they were in these big places, herded like cattle. They really wanted to be in more intimate spaces, have a chance to connect with people, not be overwhelmed by the feeling of mass and not knowing people. And a lot of people said they wouldn't cruise because of that concern that they had. And if Virgin did it differently and designed ships in a way that felt a little more intimate, they would be more comfortable. And so that was one of our pillars, when it came to designing the ships, and why our restaurants, not one has more than 200 seats. And we have all these cool spaces throughout the ship so that people could feel comfortable. And so as part of that group, figuring out what the entertainment spaces should be and how they should function from the very earliest of days, that's where the whole concept of a transformational theater was born, based on the space on the ship that was available to us. I pitched a few ideas, got some resources together, worked with our design team to create what is now known as the Red Room, where our theater transforms into multi-configurations, from a traditional theater to no seats at all to an alley stage configuration. So the nightclub, making sure the nightclub also was a great performance space that we use all the time. Also has a galley attached to it, so we could do dinner shows and create really unique experiences. And so from the design concept, from the earliest days of the design of the entertainment spaces, and then figuring out all of the technical equipment we need to support all of those spaces. And then once we had enough of what that looked like, the next phase was going out to the entertainment industry to meet with a bunch of different creatives, whether they were individual creative folks or production companies, producers, choreographers, directors, all of them, designers, to kind of present this vision of, hey, we're Virgin Voyages, we're going to change the cruise industry and do some things different ways. And would you want to be part of that with us? And here's some really cool venues we've concepted out that you would get to design things for. And so we met with so many people, and honestly, they were all interested in pitching concepts to us, which was not expected. It was quite overwhelming. Cast a big net, hope you get a few, and all of them wanted to pitch. It was very humbling and surprising. So we had over 70 concepts pitched to us. And out of those, we selected the ones that we started with on Scarlet Lady. And so my job started from the design of the venues to reaching out to the industry and find people that were interested in creating new experiences with us, right? So one of our one of our principles was that we wouldn't do license a Broadway show because the people that were interested in Virgin Voyages would rather just go to New York and see a Broadway show. Surely if I came on a Virgin ship, there would be something different that only Virgin would do, right? Or something that I wouldn't have seen before. And so when we met with all these creative folks, the mission was to create new and different experiences, but that were at a high enough level of quality that people would have really paid for them if they were on land, right? And maybe one day we could transfer one of these shows from ship to shore instead of the other way around. Usually shows are licensed from land and brought to ships. What if we could flip the whole thing on its head and do it a different way? So we set up all these high goals for ourselves. And so getting back to your question about what do I do as Vice President of Entertainment, it was really shaping the vision of what this entertainment program is going to be. And we start with shows that they have the longest lead time to, develop and marinate and produce. It takes quite a while to really do it well. But of course, the other pieces that we concepted for entertainment was our music program, making sure we had a music program that we could be proud of. I mean, look, we're related to Virgin Records. So, we have quite a lot to live up to on the music side of things. And our program has evolved so much already, and we're really, really starting to hit on all cylinders with the music program. We're really, really excited about what's happening this year.
Is there any kind of crossover with people who've been on the Virgin labels to being performers on the ship?
We really tried to, aside from Boy George, we've had Boy George on for some events, which is always very exciting. Anything tied to the labels is great. We just had one of our celebration voyages last year. They had some really amazing people, former leaders of different Virgin companies, and our head of music, Jeremy, got to meet with one of the guys that started up the Manor, and just that connection on our ships was so very special. So yes, music. So shows and music are two of our pillars. Another one is our happenings program, which is a very big shift from the norm in the industry. And usually, as you know, when you go on a cruise ship, there's a cruise director and the cruise director's staff, and they kind of guide you and tell you everything you should do. And whether it's through announcements or hosting things or taking shows on and off, they are like the face of, voice of, personality of most of the ships that you cruise on. And we really wanted to try to do that a little bit differently. And we thought of this concept that we call the happenings cast, where instead of that one individual doing all of those things, that we would spread that out amongst 12 individuals, each one with their own distinct persona that leaned into a certain passion point. And so that's where the idea about the foodie and the artist and the gamer and the diva and the hostess and so on and so forth all came from. And once we had an idea about these different passion points we wanted to touch upon, we then went out to cast those people to find people that were really authentically artists and people into wellness and working out and people that were really into hosting and games and people that could really paint or sculpt or sketch, and get these people to come on board to interact with our sailors so that our sailors could have those authentic experiences. You mentioned authenticity before. There's a big pillar for us, surprising authenticity. And so that's the happenings program. And then our parties, of course, making sure we have epic parties, because everyone knows the Virgin brand is known for having a really good time.
What are those parties like?
I think our parties are pretty epic. Certainly the best in the industry when it comes to parties. I think there is just something magical about this brand that really helps us give people permission to just kind of let go, have a great time, be themselves. You see the comments, the posts, that there's no judgment, that it's just wear what you're comfortable in, go lose yourself in the moment and just say yes to everything and have a great time. And so we have everything from our first night. We start off with the PJ party outside, where everyone, and you'll see people, even some people show up to dinner in their PJs or the show in their PJs, and then they all end up going up to the athletic club in the back of the ship, where we have the PJ party and they meet our hostess and our diva. We have a DJ. Our whole happenings cast is out interacting with them. just a good way to kick off a voyage and kind of really set the tone for, oh, this is not your typical cruise experience. And also to bring people together to foster connection, right? We really want to facilitate that where people are able to meet new friends, new relationships of all kinds. And I think a lot of the stuff we do and develop and present helps make that happen. And it's very intentional because you said that as well earlier about meeting people and connecting with people when you're on vacation can be a very magical experience. It's something even transformative. So
beyond PJs, what else?
PJ party, our epic Scarlet Night is the one I think we're probably most famous for. So once a voyage, the ship turns red. We invite our sailors to wear a splash of red, and they can wear as little or as much as they want. And it's just across the board how sailors interpret that in the way that is most comfortable or most fun for them. And what happens on Scarlet Night is Scarlet Night is based on a myth that we created that is, it kicks off at 9:00 in the center of the ship in the roundabout. And at one point at 9:00, the whole ship turns red. Our center lighting feature turns red. The music takes over the entire ship. And we have pop-up dance performances, circus performances, interactive activities, adventures, all this crazy stuff happening all over the ship across decks 6 and 7. And all of these activities culminate into a moment where everyone's encouraged to go up to the pool deck, which is about 10:45. And at 11:00, we have our finale experience where when you go up to the pool deck, you will see a giant octopus, inflatable octopus at the front of the pool area. Tubbs, as he's known affectionately on Scarlet Lady. And it just, again, it's the environment. It creates an environment and expectation like, whoa, most people have never seen anything so huge like that. But by that point, everyone's already whipped into a frenzy, having a great time. Everyone gathers around the pool, and then all of our casts come out, and it's this big celebratory, we call it the finale, dance and party kickoff, where around the pool, in the pool, hosts are hosting, dancers are dancing, water is splashing. It's a great, really fun performance. And then it leads right into inviting the sailors into dance with all of them. And it gets crazy. You have people, going in the pool fully clothed, people dancing the night away. And so that goes on till about midnight. And then we shift everyone down to the Manor, which is our awesome nightclub. And the party goes on till whenever everyone's done.
Wow, really fun.
It's pretty great. Never seen anything like it.
You mentioned one of your pillars being shows. And so many people in our audience are experienced cruisers, but maybe not with Virgin. So when we think about shows on cruise ships, you said you worked with Royal and Norwegian, we think about Kinky Boots and Hairspray, and even Norwegian had the Spiegel tent, circus type stuff for
one. To dinner. Yep.
Yeah.
That was one of mine.
Oh, okay. So what are the shows like? I mean, what did you develop with Virgin? What's that experience like?
It's a great question because we took some risks. We really took some risks. And part of that came from the theater we have that can do things that can physically do things that no other theater can. So let's talk about that for a little bit. So it can be a traditional proscenium theater, right? Which is your regular walk in a theater, sit down and watch a show. It can be an alley stage theater where you have 2 banks of seats that are facing each other with the stage in between them. And it can be what we call flat floor, where the seats are gone and it's just a big open space on the stage. And our intention with Scarlet Lady was, and when meeting with all the creative people I had mentioned earlier, is for them to pitch us concepts that played to all of those different things. So different concepts. And we really wanted to have a show in each one of those different formats so that we could give sailors very different experiences that they could only have on Virgin, right? You just couldn't physically do it in any other ship's theater. So we landed on our proscenium show. It's a show called Ships in the Night. It was produced by a company out of Montreal called the Seven Fingers. They're actually a really cool contemporary circus company, and but they dabble in a lot of other things, movement, storytelling with movement, and so they created this show for us, which would be, if Virgin Voyages was going to do a production show, would look like this. So there's a lot of really cool video. We have 7 moving LED panels on the stage that are incorporated into their show. A lot of familiar music, some great choreography. A butterfly flies down from the fly tower in the middle of the audience at one point. All this really cool, easy to access while you're sitting and watching a show. So a little bit of the familiar, if you will. And then Seven Fingers also created for us a show in our alley stage configuration called Dual Reality. Dual Reality is a circus telling the story of Romeo and Juliet. So again, something familiar that people could relate to, because most people are familiar with the story of Romeo and Juliet, but told in a very different way through circus arts in this alley stage configuration where it's in like a sports competition environment. So when you enter the red room, you're going to be sitting either on the red side or the blue side, red and blue representing the 2 different families, right? And so when the thing starts, it starts with a fight breaks out because, of course, one of the blue people are sitting on the red side. So one of the red people, it turns into this fight, which is, of course, it's part of the show, but it just sets the tone and it turns into this crazy opening where people are throwing each other across the stage and hitting poles and jumping on things, flipping. It's a wild opening. And then it turns into this thing where, the families are competing and you see Romeo and Juliet connect with each other. And the story goes on, told through amazing circus arts. And the audience, of course, if you're on the red side, you're cheering for the red team. If you're on the blue side, you're cheering for the blue team. And so there's this big competition with the audience. It gets very loud, very fun. People really enjoy it. And then we changed the ending a bit to be more virgin. We didn't think it was necessary for everyone to die. You're on vacation.
Yeah, people don't die on vacation. That's right.
That's right. And then the third show we created in the Red Room is a show called Untitled Dance Show Party Thing. And the creators are Sam Pinkleton and Ani Taj. Ani has a really cool presence in New York with immersive dance experiences. And even though she doesn't really like to use the immersive word, but it is what it is. She's very talented. And Sam and Ani have worked together. Sam's a Tony-nominated choreographer, and he's done direction work, and they do a lot of collaborations together. And we actually met with them separately, and they jointly pitched this idea to us. And the idea was to do this in the flat floor, so the audience would be standing the whole time. And we have a platform that comes out from the stage that at one point in the show moves with the dancers on it. So while everyone's thinking, you think it's a fixed stage, all of a sudden it moves, everyone's surrounding the stage, and the dancers are all over the place. There's a couple of platforms in the room. You're very close to the action. You can always move around if you can't see something, but it's a lot of the unexpected. Some people don't know what to make of it. Some people think it's the best thing we've ever done. But it's a very different and unique experience. There's moments where the dancers are engaged with sailors doing what we call the social dance moments, where it's all these familiar social dances that people have done over the years. And people just have a great time doing it. And then it
what's
ends
the
with
show called?
Untitled Dance Show Party Thing, because it's literally all those things. It's a dance show, it's a party, it's a thing. And we used to call it Untitled as we were building it, and it just kind of stuck.
Untitled Dance Show Party Thing. That was my nickname in college, by the way. So we also like to bring this around to our ethos of the podcast and ask you maybe to leave our listeners with a tip for their own travels. Is there something that you do when you're going through the airport or when you arrive at a destination or a hotel, something that makes travel easier for you or more enjoyable? Anything, any little tip you want to give?
Travel hack.
I mentioned before, I really love exploring, and I love when I get to where I'm going, meeting with and talking with some locals in the area to find out what are the nuggets that, only they would know about. If you're not a tourist, what are the things that you do in that town, that area, that city? What's that adventure that I wouldn't normally know about? I that's just me. I really like to find the other things. I want to find the things that are not in the catalog, not in the brochure at the hotel. I want to find the other things. So that's kind of how I like to do it. I oftentimes wing it. I'll just get in a car and go. My wife and I have adventured across different areas, whether it's Italy or Maine or North Carolina. We love just going out and exploring and discovering. That's part of the fun of travel for me.
That is a great way to travel, and that really aligns very much with I think the way James and I travel, as well as what hopefully a lot of our listeners do as well. So, wow, it's been a real pleasure having you on board, Richard. I know I've taken away a lot of learnings from our conversations with you. About your background and also about the experiences on the Virgin ship. So thank you so much for participating with us.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. I have a question. Is there one more little thing I can share with you that recently happened? It was a pretty big deal. Okay.
Absolutely.
So in the beginning, I told you one of the big goals we set out for ourselves was to create entertainment experiences that people would pay for on land. And what if we could actually someday transfer a show from ship to shore? So it's actually happened. Our show, Dual Reality, was licensed to tour on land. It premiered last summer at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. It toured in Europe, and it made its U.S. premiere in February in Boston. And it got a great write-up in the Boston Globe, was picked up in USA Today. And the tour continues in the Netherlands. It'll be coming back to San Diego later this year. So it's actually happening, which is really exciting.
What an achievement. That is awesome.
Yeah, congratulations. And that's called Dual Realities?
Dual Reality, yep. It was adapted from our ship to tour in theaters around the world.
Excellent.
With our partners, the Seven Fingers. So yeah, it was pretty exciting that was it.
Yeah, it must make you feel great. It's real affirmation about the work and the concepting that was done and the philosophy behind the entertainment on Virgin Voyages. So congratulations.
The creative people that we've had the privilege of working with are nothing short of amazing. What they've brought to us and the partnerships, the ideas, it's just, there's some just incredibly talented people out there. So it's great to see something like that happening for all of them. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Great work. Great having you here, Richard. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being part of the show.
A pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Hey, adventurers, get ready for the trip of a lifetime.
We're cooking up an epic land-based vacation, an adventure for two, and you could be the lucky winners.
Details are still under wraps, but trust us, this is one giveaway you won't want to miss.
Want a head start on winning? Here's the deal. For early access to the raffle and 5 raffle points, not 1, 5, head to the link in the description or visit notouristallowed.com and sign up for our newsletter. That's what you have to do.
That's right. You'll be the first to know when the official giveaway launches.
Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity. You know, last season we gave away a Virgin Voyages luxury cruise for 2. So now we're giving away this great land-based vacation. Stay tuned and get those early raffle entries in and perhaps prepare for an unforgettable journey.
Well, James, it was great having Richard on today. A lot of
Interesting,
insight.
Right? Different perspective, and entertainment is such an important part of cruise vacation, probably an important part of any vacation, right, is, music and theater and parties and all that. So it's a whole other perspective, as you said, maybe from the operations perspective, but also from the entertainment perspective, to look at a cruise ship. I would love to see us have, and I know we're working on this with our team, love to have a captain from a cruise ship come and talk to us, right?
Yeah. But I think Virgin does it differently, where that his area is not. It's not just the guy playing the piano in the lobby or the entranceway, and this show that bounces from ship to ship. But it sounds much more immersive in the fact of them planning this out, and that they're responsible for parties and DJs and all this other. Maybe other cruise lines are doing it. I'm just unaware of it. But
well, I think what's really unique here is this philosophy where they've turned it kind of inside out and said, we're not going to license entertainment that you can see if you go to New York or Boston or LA, but the other way around. We're going to develop entertainment that's so unique and interesting and good that land-based theaters are going to want to bring it in from the ship, So that's really cool. I've never heard anyone talk like that before. I've met other entertainment executives in the cruise industry, and they travel the world looking for shows, and they do a great job. There's a show called Choir of Man that you might have seen on the ship before. And that entertainment executive saw it in Australia at a theater in Australia and brought it on board the ships, and it became very famous, actually. And it's a great show. But this is something different. This is, bringing the artists together, bringing the concept people together, the technology people together, designing the theater in a certain way, and creating a new experience that maybe is so good that it crosses over into the land experience. I think that's fascinating, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, thanks for listening in today, as always, to No Tourists Allowed. Please go to our website, notouristallowed.com, not surprisingly, and share any feedback that you may have, or if you've got a question or two to ask, feel free to do so. And look forward to having you next week on our pod, where we've got a very special guest, Dean Kerbishley, who will be sharing his adventures of round-the-world travel and a lifetime of travel. So thanks again for listening, and see you next time on No Tourists Allowed.
Yeah, don't forget our vacation giveaway, guys. Go to the website and sign up for that newsletter, and we'll have other ways that you can enter too. So we want you to all go away for free on us on No Tourists Allowed. Thanks for being here this week.